Alrighty then, this is topic 2.2b, part 2 of the Atlantic slave trade lesson. And in this one, we are going to briefly look at the departure zones in Africa from which enslaved people were forcibly removed. We'll name some modern African countries and territories that were affected by the slave trade, and we'll also identify some ethnic groups that have historically been rooted in those territories. We're also going to explain how the distribution of different African ethnic groups in the United States led to the development of a unique mix of cultural practices, languages, and religious beliefs that laid the foundation for African American culture. So, this should be fairly quick and straightforward. The departure zones are all the places where the purple arrows start, mostly in West and West Central Africa. And 9 countries in particular are considered the points of origin for just about all of the enslaved Africans who were brought directly to mainland North America, what's now the United States. Those countries from west to east are Senegambia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, the Ivory Coast, Ghana, Benin, Nigeria, Angola, and Mozambique. Mozambique is kind of the weird outlier here because it's the only one in East Africa. But remember that the Portuguese rounded Africa in 1488 and colonized Kilwa in 1505. So this was definitely a place they may have sourced enslaved people. The single biggest departure zone was in present day Angola, which would have included Ndongo, Matamba, and most of the Congo Kingdom in the 1500s. But there were a lot of different slave markets on the West African coast as well, especially after the British and French got involved. Anyway, these are the modern African nations that occupy the territories most affected by slave trading. And many of these modern countries are actually home to a lot of different ethnic groups. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. There are over 3,000 distinct ethnic groups in Africa, and they all have their own cultural practices, languages and dialects, religious customs, and belief systems. In West Africa alone, there are the Wolof, Akan, Yoruba, and Igbo ethnicities, and each of these is further subdivided into smaller and more distinctive kinship groups. Suffice to say, there are a lot of cultural differences among West and West Central Africans, but these distinctions were disregarded by European slave traders who indiscriminately shoved all dark skinned people onto slave ships and deposited them in the Americas with no regard to their cultural, linguistic, or religious differences. And so in the United States, Africans from all different backgrounds would have commingled and blended together, and the uniqueness of their various cultural roots would have formed the basis of an altogether new and unique diasporic identity. And that's really the point of this last learning objective, to understand that when we talk about African American culture, that we're really talking about something that represents a syncretic blend of lots of different sociocultural elements from all over West and West Central Africa. It was in the combining and mixing of sometimes disparate cultural, religious, and linguistic histories that Afro American US culture was born. And I think that just about covers the last 2 learning objectives for topic 2.2. In our next lesson, we'll learn about the experiences of Africans during the journey from Africa to the Americas. See you then.